Hello, everyone, and welcome to the writer's class. Yeah, listen to this. I said, welcome to the writer's class. I didn't go, welcome to the ladies to oop, the and oop, the. Yeah, I said the writer's class. I actually knew what podcast I was doing. Well, that's because I have someone that actually tends to know what podcast they're doing and is and I shouldn't say semi. They're very professional. Like they actually even talk about like a business and stuff. I met them at like the ALA. So when they were across from me, I was dressed kind of professional, if you can imagine me in costume the entire time. And don't, for you guys out there that think I'm cute, don't do that. I was not in that kind of costume. Thank you. It's respectable. Anyway, I'm Winona. Oh my God, I remember to introduce myself. High five to me. Oh, and just right there, that was the end of the professionalism. Dag nabbit, I almost had it.
Oh.
Anyway, y'all, I do a profession. I write books. And those books are And I Thought Divorce Was Bad, and I Thought Being Grown Up Was Easy, If Only I Were Me, a Memoir in Verse, Foreign Coffee, Widow's Web, and Widow's Debt. And you can find those 6 books wherever audio books are sold. Can you tell that I say that a few times a week? Yep, I do. And you know what the time is. This is the time where I add a little sign language. So we have 6 books, and then we add 11 books, and we get a total altogether now of 17 books. You can find out the rest about those books at www.andithoughladies.com. Everyone goes, why don't you sign out the andithoughladies.com? Because I was like, no, that's called finger spelling, and that's way too many letters. No one's doing that. You've learned enough sign. You learned the number 6, 11, and 17. I mean, I feel like Sesame Street right now. This was brought to you by the AITL. Those were the letters that was brought to you by. But you're not here to hear about me or my AITL or my 17 books, which is such a shame because I could do a whole show on just talking about me, but you know this. You're here to hear about our wonderful guests. Wonderful guests, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Winona. My name is Mark Leslie Lefebvre. I usually just call me Mark because nobody ever wants to spell or pronounce Lefebvre anyways. I have worked in the book industry since 1992. That's one thing about me. Second thing about me is my very first published short story came out in 1992. Most of them are under the name Mark Leslie instead of Mark Lefebvre because nobody can ever spell or pronounce that name. And third thing about me, I thought I'd make this one a little bit more interesting, is a lot of the stuff that I write tends to be horror, macabre, dark, disturbing. And yeah, I may look like a bit of a badass if people are looking at the video, but I'm actually a nice guy. I'm a meek, mild pushover of a happy, apologizing Canadian. And so when people have read some of the horror stories I've written, they're like, well, wow, where does that darkness come from? And I like to say, well, I put it in the stories, or else it comes out some other where.
Oh my God. I so know about how people say that. Oh, they meet us and we're like, hey, and then they read our books and they go, oh God, that's a lot of sad. And I'm like, well, sad has to come out somewhere.
It does, yeah, yeah.
Yes. I want to make a joke, but there are like 2 things that I think I'm going to get wrong. So the audience and you can tell me if I'm dead wrong, and I'm still probably not going to edit it out.
Okay.
So you said nice, polite Canadian. I was currently listening to something about Canadians, and then I heard about World War II. And I was like, nice, polite Canadian. And that really bumped heads. So I think that there's every time I meet one, I'm like, there's gotta be a darker side. Because now
Well, I
I
mean,
know in history that y'all had a darker side. So thank you for writing it.
what about World War II? Were you talking about going in and defending our friends?
Yes, yes. There,
Yeah. You push our friends. We're gonna what I say is you poke the moose, you get the goose.
yup,
Because
that
geese
is
are very
perfect.
vicious. Yes.
Because geese never stop attacking you. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna nerd out for a split second. Y'all know how many planes a year that geese take down? It's in the single digit percentage, but you would not think that a geese could take down a plane. But geese take down planes all the time.
They're vicious. We call them cobra chickens here in Canada. Like they are just nasty. Like when you're walking down a trail, especially in the springtime when they have the little goslings or whatever the little baby geese are, they're very protective. So if you get too close, they'll come at you, and they're vicious. I don't know if you've seen. There's lots of videos, especially in the town where I live, of sometimes the geese will just take up residence in front of your house, and there are people who can't even get to their car because the minute they come out, the geese just come after them, and it looks like a Hitchcock movie. It's terrifying.
That's probably where he got the idea from. He was like, imagine if all birds were like geese.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should do a movie on that because that's freaking scary.
Yeah, I think the geese would be a dramatic horror movie, probably a bit of a comedy too, because it's kind of funny watching a goose chase someone.
It is. So now you have a new idea for your horror story if you ever decide
I
to
always do, yeah.
okay. There you go.
Yeah.
I should get to like the serious bit of life,
All
right?
right.
You've been around since I love the faith. Thank you. I'm never that serious. You look like, yes, I'm ready.
All right, sure.
God, yo, I should have hit the
Poker
spotlight.
face, poker face.
There you go. Um, you've been around since 1992, and I'm just gonna start off with a broad question.
Yeah.
What should we know about publishing between 92 and now that is super helpful? Like three things.
Yeah, so great question. When I started in the book industry, there were 12, the big 12 publishers. There used to be a lot more choice when it came to traditional publishing. And now there's the big five. But we also have the big five or the big six retailers that you can publish direct to or use a distributor. And so the slush pile in so many ways has moved from the back room of a publisher's warehouse, like Penguin, Random House, HarperCollins, whatever. It's moved to an online catalog near you. And so while the opportunity to not have to go through gatekeepers in New York and London and Germany, whatever, and Toronto, the gatekeepers, we have digital ways of getting around the gatekeepers, but now the challenge for writers is still getting that discovered. Just like it used to be, the only way was, oh, you got to get an agent to discover you or an editor. And so I like to say that it's never been a better time to be a writer. It's also never been a harder time to be a writer because you have more power and more ability and more control of your IP as an author and choice. Am I going to go with a big publisher, small publisher? Or am I going to go with an agent and just direct to a publisher, whatever? Or am I going to DIY my book? Am I going to work with a small press publisher? Am I going to work with a hybrid publisher that takes money? You know what I mean? Like, how am I going to get my book out there? And I think one of the things that makes it harder is analysis paralysis. Like you have so much choice, you don't know what to do. And a lot of what I like to do in helping other authors is just walking through, okay, you don't have to do it all now. You can choose to just try this first, right? It doesn't all, I mean, you try to simplify it as much as you can. And I think it's important to learn. It's important to understand your choices and options, but then to make choices and say, okay, I can do all these things, but I only have the headspace to do this one thing. And it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. You can always do the other thing the next time.
What should we start with? Because like you, as you said, you're like, no, you start, maybe you want to start here and then keep going.
What
Like
depends
someone
on
who's just jumping in,
it
what do you
depends
think
on
they
what
should start
you're
thinking about?
it depends on what you want. So a lot of times when authors are really scared about self-publishing a full-length novel, I was like, okay, all right, great. So you have a book, your baby, you've put so much effort into it, and you want to DIY, you want to learn how to publish, on Amazon and learn how to publish on Kobo and learn how to get that book distributed. All right, take a short story, try that, you know, right?
I
Like
like that.
you don't start playing at Radio City Music Hall as a musician. You start in a local pub. Maybe you just pull out the guitar when there's a bunch of friends sitting around and you play, and you get better, and then and then you try something bigger, and then you're playing in a band on a Friday night in a local bar. You know what I mean? Then you're playing a place where people actually pay to go in, and then you're bigger and bigger. So you can do the same sort of thing. You don't have to start with the big project. You can kind of work your way up to it and get practice, right? I used to do a lot of theater. You don't just perform the play in front of a live audience on day one. You do the read through, then you do the blocking, then you do the rehearsal after rehearsal, then the dress rehearsal, and then the tech rehearsal, and bam, 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 and then it's ready. It's the same sort of thing. So you can't expect to go from 0 to 60 like that. there are small steps you can take.
Okay, so I was gonna build some more on that, but then my brain jumped, so we're all jumping, okay.
You and me both. And Mexican jumping beans in here. So
Much. Trying to settle them down for a novel is so hard. Like, stop it.
yeah.
Shh, I'm doing something right now.
Yeah.
Right. So I jumped into, I heard theater. So what on is your dialogue easier because you were in theater?
You know what? I've done a lot of stuff with Jeff, the dialogue doctor. He's got a podcast, and he helps folks out with that. And actually, remembering one thing I remember from theater is motivation from characters. Every scene, a character has motivation, and I remember a director telling me that. What's your motivation in this scene? What does this person want? Everyone's got something, and that helps me not only with characterization when I write, but it also reminds me of the dialogue. So not everyone sounds like a middle-aged, middle-class, white, cisgendered, bald guy from Canada. That they all have different personalities and different ways of speaking or different ways of saying the same thing. Right. So I think a good exercise that writers can do is, all right, here's what somebody wants to say. Here's this character. This is where they're from. This is their background. How would they say it versus how the person across from them who has a different background and where a different part of the world potentially, wherever they're from, how would they say the same thing? And that's a great way for you to understand not everyone speaks the same.
Y'all, I'm gonna say I did a good job. I did not throw me in there for a good minute right there. But now it's time for the narcissist to pop back up because I want to talk about how I do this.
Yes, I want to hear it. I want to hear it. This will be fun.
So literally, when it's time for me to start writing, it's funny because my brain completely switches. I start listening to books and I'm like, oh, vocabulary. And I just start writing down, I keep a thing to write down different words that I had never thought of
Yeah.
using. Or ways like the 3 words that they were used around. But I also do the same thing with my friends. So if I know that someone is a bit more like this person in my book, then I go have lunch with them about 2 or 3 times in that month. And then I write down a sentence each time, a couple sentences, like, oh my God, yeah, that's exactly how they would. This is,
That's
and then
so
when you're
smart.
reading them, it kind of like it rolls off. You remember the
Yeah.
conversation, you remember how you see it, you remember how they see it, you expand the point of view, and then that character is, and it's natural because it
Yeah.
came from a natural conversation.
I love that. It's almost like what you do when, like, sometimes with a character, I'll cut something out of a magazine to say, well, this is what this character looks like. And sometimes have it stuck there. So when I go to describe them, they're there. I can see them, right? Or you pick, an actor. Okay, they look something like this. That's a great shortcut that you can use.
That is amazing. I am absolutely loving that idea because they used to all live in here, and now I'm getting older.
Yeah.
So, trying to remember what they wore and how they move
Oh,
is a
yeah.
little harder nowadays because, like, my mainstay book has 13 main characters.
Oh, yeah.
And they all move and do certain things in certain part of the cities and act certain ways and have different culture. And I used to just keep it all in here. Nowadays, I'm like, wait, what now?
Yeah, you can't do that.
Not anymore.
I think Plotter has a tool to help you with that where you can feed your book into it and it spits out character descriptions and stuff like that and identifies what they've done, which is like, oh, that would be great for creating like a series Bible. So you can refer back to it or your editor can refer to it and go, who's this again? Wait, you got their eye color wrong. They have green eyes, or whatever.
When I was younger, I wrote 50 some novels with these people, and I never had to write a thing down because it was all here. Like I
Yeah.
had every book line
Well,
by
that boggles my mind how you could do that.
nowadays. I'm like, wait, what happened?
Yeah.
Let me go write that down. That's important.
I can't. I'm
I
in
need
a
to
hotel room.
remember to
I
connect
can't
that.
remember where the door is half the time.
It's like, woo, it's getting a little rough. But then again, I recognize back then that's all I wrote. I wrote them. That was it.
Yeah.
Now I write a lot more than just them. That's probably the
Yeah.
problem. See, okay, we're done talking about me. We're back to Lefebvre. Lefebvre. Lefebvre.
Lefebvre. Lefebvre. You just ignore all the consonants and just kind of go your own way with it.
So be French about it. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. Un petit peu.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was trying to remember my French and it just was like, nah, mm-mm. What about
That's okay.
Spanish? What about Italian? You up for Italian today? My brain is not doing
It's been
French.
a while since I've been in Italy and heard it spoken a lot. That you usually have to be immersed in a place to hear it a lot, and then it comes back.
Exactly. Okay, y'all. So my battery is deciding it wants to die, so I might pop off for a moment.
Oh no.
So I'm gonna ask him a question. Hopefully he's long-winded, so it'll give me another 1%.
Oh, I'm long-winded.
So you get to, I consider you to be one of the cool writer people because you are everywhere doing everything. And when I look up a podcast, well, darn it, if you haven't been on it, like a real one, like it's like the real no BS guide to write. There you are, Maddie Dalrymple. There you are, the dialogue doctor. There you are. You look us up. It's like, hi, I was in a fashion newspaper yesterday. Like, what are they doing there? But you are talking about writing and have a career helping other writers. For people who out there who want to become a not just a writer, but an
Yeah.
influencer to help other writers, where do we start? And I'm asking this because I want to know.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to theater for the answer to this one, and I'm going to go back to improv theater. And I think one of the key things is yes and. So I've been very lucky to have been given opportunities, and sometimes the opportunity is, hey, can I talk to you about this? And that's an opening. Even if can I talk to you about this is not for a podcast or an article or anything, it's just somebody who wants to benefit from something that you can share in the knowledge. And so sometimes just saying yes and having that conversation can then lead to another thing to lead to another thing. I'm not a spring chicken. I've been around like I've been writing for 40 years, right? My very first rejection was in like 1985. So I've been at this for a long time. For me, it's not about an easy button and click it and it happens. This is about longevity. And so being accessible, being available, you never know what long-term thing's going to come out of it. I mean, I think about weird things like I published my first book of horror stories in 2004, and one of the stories, most of them were previously published, but one of the stories was never uh, published anywhere else but in this book, and I'd only sold like 200 or 300 copies, so it was just not very many copies in the world. And then lo and behold, it was like 2015, I think. I got a letter from McGraw-Hill Ryerson, a textbook publisher in Canada, and it was a photocopy of this story that had only ever appeared in this one book that I published. I don't know who got a hold of it or how they got a hold of it. And they said, "Oh, we really like the story. Can you take out the adult language?" And there's a sort of a sexy sort of thing that happens. And you take out that adult content and the adult language, which was a quick tweak. We'd love to use it in a high school example of suspense writing because it's really short. It was like a 1,000 word story. And and again, I look at this thing, this is like a story that I just put in there. Nobody had seen it, like very, very limited. Someone somewhere found it, and then it led to somebody saying, "Oh, we could include this here." And the same thing happens as you spend some time and you talk to someone, or you help them out, or you give. It's about give, give, give. Somewhere in that, someone's got to remember, oh, it was that guy I was talking to, or oh, I know someone. He helped me out with this thing, and then that can lead to it, whatever. And honestly, I've been very lucky. I've been very fortunate my entire life, but I've also, whenever I can, if somebody asks me, "Can you do this?" I usually will say, unless I've had a really bad experience with that person before, and it was like a complete, like it was not good for anyone. I don't want to repeat that, once bitten, twice shy. But for the most part, I'm pretty open and I'm pretty willing to spend the time to do the things. And I think part of that has led me to all of the different connections I've had. And then people said, well, he wasn't a complete jerk. So yeah, we enjoyed the conversation. We'll have him back, or if somebody recommends me. I was just talking to someone this morning that a fellow author who I haven't really talked to in a while. The last time I hung out with her was probably 2016, 2017. Last time I think I saw her in person. And then she was talking to someone else and was like, oh, you got to talk to Mark. And it was like this, oh, cool. Do you want to lead this workshop? Yeah, cool. That'd be great. Thanks. Who recommended me? Oh, yeah, so and so. It's like, oh my God, I haven't seen her in years. How's she doing? I mean, it's all about community at the end of the day, I think. Was that
Well,
long-winded enough?
I was just about to say, first of all, thank you. It's long-winded enough. I got 2% more. Um, I'm thinking about unplugging so we can get back to where
Oh
my
my God, unplugging.
yeah, yeah, and then we'll have to get another long-winded answer.
Oh, don't worry, I got lots of them.
Thank you so much. First of all, I love the fact that we have to be involved in the community and that it does take time. And I think that's really important. Again, I'm going to insert myself here. I feel like I've done enough time because I got published when I was 10. So
Yeah.
time's up, y'all. Please include me. No, I'm joking.
But you
But
were, wait, you're like in your early 20s, right?
yeah, something like that. Let's go
Yeah.
with that. Thank you. Um, and then I also want to point out just this one thing right here. You're on our podcast, and we were across the hall. We were across the little hallway from you,
Yeah,
and
that's
we
right.
know
Yeah.
that had to be a bad experience. We had people like almost up to your table because we were talking, and we just taken up the entire
You were
aisle.
attracting a crowd and showing people how it was done was what you were doing. I learned a lot by watching you guys in action.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I don't know how he came here because it was a bad experience for everyone.
No, I thought it was a great experience. You guys were dynamic and fun and energetic and excited to talk about your books and to talk about the authors you were there. And you were very ingeniously creative, which I thought was amazing. So, no, I love being across from people I can learn from and people who are dynamic like that. So, never, please don't apologize for being awesome.
Thank you. I was trying to make a joke on a self-deprecating joke. I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
yeah, I know you're trying to be self-deprecating, but it was impressive. It was really impressive. So I'm not going to let you.
Oh, thank you for that one too. Because writers and poets, especially poets, are supposed to be self-deprecating.
Yes.
A
Yeah.
false sense of humor, humility. My other question was going to be again jumping. You write horror.
Yeah.
Now, horror is like mystery on steroids, but scarier.
Yeah.
That's how, and then people are like, how do you explain the genre? I'm like, horror is like mystery on steroids, just scarier, okay?
Yeah.
Don't read it in the dark.
Yeah.
You're gonna be looking for a fight.
Yeah.
Um, how do you maintain the scare factor throughout an entire novel?
I think I have to either be scared of the thing I'm writing about or at least understand how people can be scared of it. It's easier when I'm scared of it because it's natural. Sometimes I have to put myself in the shoes of someone who's terrified of something that I don't find terrifying. That's actually a great creative exercise. But yeah, and fortunately, I'm very lucky that I'm one of the biggest chickens you will ever meet. I am afraid of the monster under my bed and the ghosts in my closet and all of the scariness. Like I'm afraid of the dark. I really am. And that's been a really interesting thing for me because I will channel that fear into stories. I will ask, the what if is an important question for me. Well, what if this? Oh, that's scary. Let's write about it. Maybe it's therapy. I've also written, I've got a half dozen true ghost story books out as well. Those are with a traditional publisher. And I love researching haunted locations. I'm working on a book, The Ghosts of the Great Lakes, right now for another publisher that's coming out next year. And I know that in the writing, sometimes I can't even use some of the research I do for those nonfiction books, but they get squirreled away as oh, there's another idea. And so that's been a great thing. The other thing I'll say about writing horror, which I think is important, is we can't control the world. The world can be very divisive and scary and cause a lot of anxiety, especially when people are at each other's throats, over differences and stuff like that. It's terrifying. We don't know what we're going to wake up to every day. The wonderful thing about writing in general, but even writing horror, is I can control the monsters in the darkness. The good guys can win in my books, or at the very least, the reader can go, close it and put it away. And so that gives us power over the darkness by putting it onto the page.
I love that point. It gives us power because there's so much darkness out there now. It's
Yeah.
hard to I feel like every day you fight for hope. And then you
Yes.
gotta hold on to the hope. And you gotta fight to hold on to it. It's so much fighting.
And yet, but what we
But
do as writers and publishers and the people who put those books out in the world, one of the things we do that we fundamentally improve the world by just by writing and publishing our books is we connect people because we know readers reading, especially fiction, even nonfiction, creates more empathy in people. And so the very fact that you're writing not only gives people an escape potentially from the reality, but it also, because when you read about another character, you're put in their shoes, and therefore you can see the world or feel what it's like to be in their shoes. I think about Quantum Leap. Do you remember, the old TV show Quantum Leap? Right? Where Scott Bakula's character was constantly in someone else's shoes. What a great metaphor for what books can do for people. They can really open up your eyes and go, I've never been, a pregnant woman living in the Great Depression who just lost a baby, but reading The Grapes of Wrath, I can understand how she can turn that tragedy into kindness for a stranger who is starving. And I could never understand. I was a 19-year-old boy when I read the novel. How could I understand that? The closest thing was to hunger was I was a student, so sometimes the food wasn't coming as fast as it was, but at least I had shelter and all that stuff. But you know what I mean? So suddenly, but I could understand this thing that I wasn't ready to understand yet because I was quite young, but the book helped me understand this character and the beautiful moment that was in The Grapes of Wrath of, to speak in a classic literary novel. But I mean, that's the beauty of what we do as writers, right? Is that connectivity and allow people to experience things beyond their limited scope. And I grew up in very limited scope of view in the town where I grew up in.
I just want to say you've done something I never thought I was going to be able to do, and that is make me like Grapes of Wrath.
Oh yeah. I actually was forced to read it in first year university, and I actually enjoyed it. So,
I have an English degree, and I was huge on English when I was in high school. Please understand that I have done everything in my power to avoid that book. And it
yeah,
finally caught up with me near the last bit. My last class for my English degree, they were like, "No, I want something like this." And I was like, "Well, dang it. If it didn't get me
yeah,
in the end." So I had to
yeah.
read it. But now you've made me like it, sir. You
There,
made
good.
me
Wow,
like
that's
it.
amazing.
'Cause you're
By the
right.
end of this conversation, I'm going to make you like the Canadian rock band Rush too.
Ooh, ooh,
Yeah, I
that's
know.
a challenge. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Making a woman like Rush is really difficult.
And I've actually heard some of their songs. So
Yeah,
yeah. Okay, moving on. Thank you for that lovely joke. And it wasn't from me, so I didn't know what to do with it. I was
yeah, I
like,
know. Oh my goodness.
where am I
Self-deprecating
supposed to
humor. They're my favorite rock band in the world. So there you go. That's self-deprecating.
go? Woo! Okay. Moving on, because there is a question I did want to ask, and then I am almost done, y'all. I promised him 3 to 7, and I have definitely gone over the 7. Eesh. Oh
Oh
well.
well.
Um, so lastly, I wanted to ask what 3 pieces. No, no, I lied. Back it up. There's a question I want to know more. Oh, I love that. With the hands up, dude. He is so much
Back
fun.
it
He
up.
has to come
Back
back.
it up.
Yeah, have to come back. Um, you've both been self-published and traditional
Yeah.
published. Pros and cons. Like, I don't care how many you give us. Like, go for it.
Yeah. So the pro with self-publishing is I'm in control of everything, right? I can control the cover and when it's released and the editing and find the right, all that stuff. The con is I'm in charge of everything. I have to do everything, right? Um, the pro with self-publishing is 70% on the ebook as opposed to 8 to 10% on trad publishing, with withholding. The pro from traditional publishing is, yeah, the publisher signs the editor and all that, all those people who work on it. That's a pro. It's a huge pro. The bigger pro for me is traditional publishers have access to traditional distribution into bookstores. And that's a huge win. Now, I ironically call that vanity publishing, and I'll break it down because I walked into a place like Barnes and Noble in cities all across the US, and I can walk in and find my book Haunted Hospitals, for example, on the shelves, a copy or two in the paranormal section. And oh my God, does that ever feel good to see your book on a shelf in a bookstore? That's a really proud moment. It never gets old, right? But if that book sells, it's a co-authored book. I'll make $1 a year later with 70 or 30% withholding, so 70 cents every time a copy sells. A year later, I'll get that. That's why I call it vanity publishing because it feels good, but I don't make much money on it. In the meantime, probably by the time I walked into the store, saw the book, and then walked out, my self-published titles have automatically, passive income have already earned me way more money in that same time period of that sale happening. And so I jokingly call it that. And I don't mean that to disparage publishers because I know they put a lot of effort and work into it. But I will still work with publishers because one of the reasons I signed with the publisher that is publishing my book, Ghost of the Great Lakes, is Woolsack and Wynne is a prestigious Hamilton small publisher, basically one woman operation who hires, editors and stuff like that and contractors to put her books together. She's very passionate about the books she publishes, and I've just been looking forward to working with a cool person like Noelle. And that's like two of the reasons, like, yeah, she has traditional distribution, but she's also a publisher and a person I respect. And so I will still sign deals with different publishers because of the value of the relationship or whatever it is. And so pros and cons, yeah, I think those are some of the high level pros and cons. I mean, there's lots of little ones along the way, but at the end of the day, those are the big ones.
I'm sorry, I did lie to you. I had promised you it was next to the last question, but
That's
then
okay.
how did you end up working with so many publishers? Because everyone's gonna want to know. Because they're
The
most people
same
are having a
reason.
hard time getting
Um,
one.
it's the same reason saying yes. I mean, with this one came up when Noelle wanted to talk about the possibility, and I thought she wanted to talk to me as somebody who's worked in the book industry for a long time and is there a market for this book? Because she knew I was familiar with that market. I had no idea she wanted me to write the book. I thought I was just there to help out a publisher and a friend. And then the other one, like with Dundurn, the larger publisher that I did 6 books with, I was at an industry event and I overheard the vice president of the company say, "We have always wanted to publish a book of ghost stories about Hamilton, Ontario." And so I had gone on a ghost walk in Hamilton, Ontario. I just moved to the city not that, a year or so earlier. And I wanted to learn about the city. And I always go on ghost walks because you learn history and ghosts. It's fun. And so I was like, oh, the ghost walks are cool. And I looked at the market and said, there's no ghost story books about Hamilton, but there's a functioning, it's been going for 10 years, a ghost walk group. There's probably a market for it. And and so I pitched a book of ghost stories about Hamilton to the publisher, and they, of course, went yes. So it's again, like I said, it's the same answer to the other questions. It's about community and it's about connections, and you never know what connection is going to lead to it. Several of the books I wrote, I was interviewed by a journalist from a newspaper who said, "Hey, have you ever thought about writing a book about this?" And I was like, "No, I hadn't. That's a good idea." It's like, "We want to do it together? Yeah, let's do it." Like so saying yes and being open. I was at the reason haunted hospitals came out is I was at a writers conference and we were sitting around drinking and somebody leaned over to me and whispered, Rhonda, my co-author, said, "I live near a haunted hospital." And I went, "Really?" And she goes, "Yeah." And then we started talking. And then the next thing I knew, we were chatting, chatting, chatting. The next I said, "Listen, okay, we're drinking right now. Why don't we in the morning I'll meet you at the restaurant. We'll have some breakfast. We'll talk about this with a clear head, see if the ideas are still good." We sat down, we talked about it, and like, I'm going to pitch this to Dundurn. I think they would like this book because we've got enough stories here that we can share. And again, being open to conversations, being open to listening to people and being open to connecting. That's kind of how it happened. I know there's no easy button, there's no magic there, but just being open, I think is one way of that. And a lot
That
of it's about community and connections.
that in and of itself is magic. Like
It is.
it's amazing how you run into somebody and it feels like it was just the right person at the right time and
Yeah.
it was just so perfect for this. And
Yeah.
that the magic of writing. And then it opens your eyes to a whole nother way of telling a story, even if it's with someone, hearing another point of view. And don't
Yeah.
forget to write down the phrases that are specific to them because you might need them for another book.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, that is such a great tip. But even like being at ALA, connecting with you, right? Like there was value in connecting, not just because I got to learn watching you in action, but I got to learn. I got to meet my neighbors and learn a little bit about what they were doing. And you never know. It's like there's so. there's so many great things that we can experience just by looking around us.
And that I think like I do not remember who said it. I used to, but I'm old now. But they were saying that for us poets are like the conscience of society, and you
Yeah,
cannot be a conscience of society. You not cannot have a pulse of society. You cannot speak about society unless you're out there learning from other people, taking saying yes to opportunities that come your way.
yeah.
Otherwise, you're not gonna enjoy creating if you're not taking in life experience.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the substance, the sustenance that we push back out into the world has to come from somewhere.
Exactly. I do want to mention that you did just give me a book idea, so I might be writing that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Good.
I
Awesome.
think that made me quicker and easier than finishing this novel I'm working on.
There
Um,
you go.
I'm like 40 pages from done, which at this point, when you're a novelist, that's complete. And please
Oh,
understand,
practically, yeah.
I started it last Monday.
Oh, all right. So you're writing it really slowly, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm taking my
Yeah.
time.
So my God, chop chop, lady.
No, no, it does feel like I'm taking my time. This coming up on it'll be 2 weeks tomorrow.
All right.
Oh, not 2 weeks. It'll be 2 weeks since I started pre-writing tomorrow. So
Yeah.
it does feel like I'm taking a long time,
Yeah.
but that's all right. Uh, so my last question is, where can we find out more information about? Nope. My last question is, what 3 tips do you have to give new writers coming into that they absolutely cannot live without knowing?
The first most important thing is if you want to write, there's a quote from Hugh Prather that says, if the desire to write is not accompanied by actual writing, then the desire is not to write. So if you really want to be a writer, if you really want to do the thing, don't give up no matter what obstacles hit your way, because if there's a passion that burns within you, I think it's really important for you to share that passion with the world. You and your stories matter, even if nobody else can see it yet. If you have that burning passion within you, do not give up on it. So do not give up on yourself. Persistence is the key. Very important for you to know that. The second thing is that not everyone is going to appreciate the kind of things that you write. My mom did not ever like anything I wrote. She loved me, she supported me, she would do whatever, but she loved reading Harlequin romance novels, and that's not the kind of books that I wrote. So my biggest fan, my mom, was not a fan at all of my writing, and that's okay. Other people are, you know. So again, sometimes the wrong reader can turn you off and say, "Well, I'm horrible because my mom never liked my stories." Well, no, my mom wouldn't like any of the stories I write. That's okay. It's not that they're bad. They're bad for her. They're good for someone else. And then the third thing is patience is I think is so important. We live in a society, a digital society of instant gratification and dopamine rushes just by, that slot machine in our hands, that's Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or whatever, we can get the next big dopamine rush. And we've forgotten how to just appreciate the world around us as well as appreciate ourselves within that world and be patient in terms of it can take a long time. I've got my first rejection at the age of 15 in 85. My very first story wasn't published till 92. There were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of rejections. Had I given up, none of these things would be published. I've got over 35 books out now. Had I given up on those things, that would never have happened. So being patient. So patience, practice, and persistence are three of the keys that I say writers need to hang on to.
Thank you so much for that. I love that. I feel like it's an essay somewhere. Just get the transcript on here and be like, new essay.
There you go.
Send
Well,
it over to
I
me.
do have a book called The Seven P's of Publishing Success, so I have talked about it a little.
You can tell. No, I'm joking. Where can we find out more information about you? Listen to your podcast, read
Yeah.
your latest books that you want us to read. You can hide some. Don't.
Yeah, you can go to markleslie.ca or just look for Mark Leslie or Mark Leslie Lefebvre if you dare try and break your fingers trying to type that last name out on any of the major retailers.
All right. So thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to go ahead and finish it up for me and y'all. If you're wondering why the view changed, it's because I went down to 2%. I tried. I tried to
You
just
did
go ahead
well.
and just let it run out. But I'm going to wrap it up for us over here. I'm Wilnona. I'm one of the And I Thought Ladies. You can find out everything you ladies are doing at www.andithoughtLadies.com. When you go to the page, go down to the bottom of the page and you can see the charities that we proudly support. We ask that hopefully you'll want to support them as well. It does not mean you have to give money. You can get your hands dirty by actually going over to Ethiopia and building an orphanage if you want to try that one. Or you could actually, some people have advice. Like one time they were looking for a grant writer and someone was around and they were like, hey, I know the ladies and they know grants and voila. Now that worked out. But if you can't do that, money always helps too. We thank you in advance for that. Remember that wisdom is always blah, blah. Remember, wisdom is always around if you're open to finding it and accepting it. So peace and love, you guys, from Wilnona and Jade. And by the way, that's staying in with the blah, blah as well. Oh, yeah. Thanks for listening.